Okay, good.
All right.
So if I'm understanding correctly, we're just talking about technology, IT systems, and how they relate to HR.
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
So I think, we actually talked about this a little bit, I think, at one point when we were talking about the training and development, because I know Dina and I talked a little bit about the our net learning pieces that we do, which are kind of all your online training and all the joint commission stuff that as a hospital that the employees have to take. So all your PPE and fire safety and hand hygiene and we put a lot of our new policies that are adopted. They go into that system as well. That employees have to go in and review the policy and sign off if they've reviewed them.
Yeah, I just got one of those today in my organization. It said, you have one policy to review. You have 10 days.
Yeah, we get those emails, I guess at a certain level, I don't think everybody gets them. I guess it depends on what the policy is, but, usually I'll post it open for comments. And then once they do the final, then you'll get the notice that has been put on there, the new policy. But we have, as best I can figure, I think we have 4 systems. So we have an intranet like everybody has. Right. Usually you can access all the systems from the intranet. And of course people put shortcuts and all that too. But PeopleSoft is the version that we use for everything, almost everything employee related. So performance management, net learning and education, benefits, compensation, recruitment. Recruitment, if you're looking for a job, they have job postings on there, but also recruitment from a manager standpoint in managing applications and in offers and with the recruiter, that correspondence. So that all comes through our PeopleSoft plan. And then we have APIs, what we use for our timekeeping and payroll. So it's a little different. People who are hourly, that's the system they access to do their swipes in and out. And people have scheduling options, like some of the floors, they have the option to open the schedule and people can trade around days and that sort of thing. So they all access it through that same system. And then, of course, we have the clinical one that, like a lot of people, the Epic system's what we use. We just have a different name for it. But and then the last one that's just the newest system is HR Connect, is what it's called. But it's kind of a portal that was set up specifically for HR. So employees or managers, anyone can ask questions. You post a question in there, and there's a post to answer you within 24 hours. You also can look at FAQs. They have a knowledge base there to kind of look for old topics if you're looking for something specific, or certain forms, or who to get in touch with for HR issues. So it's kind of an HR portal. It just opened this past probably 6 months ago, and it seems to work pretty well. I don't know, I get answers back really quickly using it, and I've had my employees use it now too when they have HR questions. I don't know if the speed they're getting back to is going to continue, or if it may be just because they haven't had as many requests yet with it being a new portal. But I mean, it's working pretty quick, I think, so far.
Gosh, we need that.
I love it. It was really good when you have a large geographic area, because HR is, I mean, like with you guys, everybody's so spread out. So, and the HR a lot of the times are really, I mean, they're placed in one area. We have HR in Winston-Salem, HR in Charlotte, and then an HR in tiny one in Northern Virginia. So they just have to do everybody.
See, our HR department is all in Asheville. Everybody's in Asheville.
It cuts down on the phone calls to HR or the emails to people, and trying to figure out who to email about, which, I mean, I think we talked about at one point, the HR department where I am is over 200 people. So trying to determine who do you email, about something with your paycheck, or with a benefit question, or with a retirement question. So this really gives you one place to go, ask a question, and then they route it themselves to whomever needs to answer it. So it's
nice
for us.
That's really nice.
What is it called?
Well, they call it HR Connect. I'm not sure what the actual software is called that they use.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was built in-house, or it may have been, because we're very anti-buying third-party software these days. So it may have been built, but it's been very helpful.
I would think that would work really well in our organization, because we have the opposite problem. I think because we have so few people, they get bogged down, and you know, I'm envisioning in my head, because I built our own internal an internal database for recruitment, and you know, there's all kinds of, again, there's programs out there that are so expensive, but you know, all they are is basically glorified Microsoft Access databases. But I mean, how nice would that be for them if they had something built basically where somebody could go and type in what they need, and you know, you have check boxes for your frequently asked question subjects. I mean, is it a 401k question? Is it a PTO question? And then that way, you know, after they click that kind of determines who it gets routed to then. Because I'm guilty of it myself. I pick up the phone all the time, and you know, we have 3 ladies that are full-time in HR here, and if I'll call one, and if I don't get one, I'll call the next one, and I know their number in my head, and
yep.
So I can imagine it's probably pretty hard for them to be very productive when they're having to answer phones.
Well, I could see that being for Johnson Health. We have we just opened up the facility in Clayton 4 years ago, and so, but it's not large enough now where all of human resources is still housed in Smithfield, which is a good 45 minute drive away. And so because it's all under that organization umbrella, they kept HR at Smithfield, and instead of splitting and sending anybody over there, I think there's like a liaison over there to help with some of those basic questions and everything. But I'm sure they end up calling Smithfield often.
Yeah. I'll say probably half of the time, that knowledge base where they get those frequently asked questions and they start to post those answers, over half the time I find my answer in that, and I don't even have to contact them. So I think regardless of the size of the organization, I think posting something like that with those facts I think it's really helpful, because if you have the question, I'm sure someone else has had the question too.
Yeah.
Kind of like with not really HR, but with best practices for any department, not just clinical. We've started something where you post facility or department best practices. So if you do something and you have found it to be beneficial to your department, you can post that in there, you know, the type of unit you're on and what you did and what the result was. And then any of us can go in and look at the list of best practices and kind of filter it by the topic and see, you know, what maybe somebody in ICU in Salisbury had this great idea to do something that saved time or resources or something. So I just think that, you know, there's just a lot of knowledge within the organization, and we're probably all duplicating a lot of things and doing a lot of processes that aren't necessary. And there's an answer within the organization in many cases. So I think that's, you know, it's a little different with best practices, but again, I think it's giving a way for us to go without talking to a person, just to go to a database and look at it and see, you know, what we need to find that's helpful to us.
See, we have so many new people now. It's like yesterday I was trying to get a contract fast-tracked for someone, and I'm like, well, is it approved or not? Well, you need to talk to somebody in credentialing. You need to do, I'm like, well, who is that person in credentialing, and where do you want me to go next? And it's like, if you had a database where it listed out who needed to be contacted for this section of providers or whatever, just ours is so not organized right now. And I think it's because we're growing so fast. We're growing too fast, and we haven't got the technology funneled in yet. So it's been a little frustrating because there's so many people in my organization, I don't know who to call. When we have HR issues, you just send an email to a general email box, HR department, and somebody will get back with you, maybe. So normally I have to bug my supervisor, who then bugs the other supervisor who then gets a response from HR. That's crazy.
Our system, I'm pretty sure, was modeled after, and you guys may have this in your facilities too, but engineering runs a system like that. If you have an engineering or maintenance request, you put in, your name, where you're located, a topic for what the issue is, you give them a description, and, is it urgent? Does it affect patients? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and IT does something very similar.
I was going to say our IT does that, yeah.
So I think that's probably where the idea came from for this HR. It's run the same way. You put in your question, you put in your name, your department, what your question is, what the topic is, and they get back to you. So they get back to you much faster, though, than engineering or IT does so far. So that's why I say I hope it continues. But
now, see, our IT department just did a new data or a new help desk kind of thing, and it's really nice because my email boxes get so full that it won't let me continue to keep my email, and it wants to archive it, which allows it to get off my server. And for some reason my archive stuff wasn't working, so I used it and just logged in and put my thing in and hit send rather than an email. Next thing I know, they're calling me. I was like, wow, this is nice. And it was taken care of in 5 minutes. Whereas before you had to wait on the line and nobody'd answer, or you'd send an email and 2 hours later, it's like, okay, this worked. So they made a big to-do about it. So I guess somebody built it, but it worked.
That email box thing.
Oh, God.
Mine was archived, but I could go back in and open them in the archives if I still needed one. Well, then suddenly that was gone. So I called IT and I said, I need something and I think it's archived, but I need it. And they said, well, you don't have the access anymore. We've done away with that. We're not able to access, you can't get into the archives anymore. You have to save them to your drive if there's one you want to save. You can't get into the archives. I said, well, but it's archiving it after like 30 days or 60 days. I mean, I have emails that need to be kept more than 30 days.
Yeah.
Or I'd be saving every other email.
Yeah.
So he said, well, your email box is too small. You need to expand the size of your box, which I didn't even know that was a thing because I'm not in IT. So, I just open it and it works.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is the craziest thing of the whole story. In order to get your email box enlarged, just to hold more emails, it takes a vice president signature.
Yeah, because the data is so expensive.
Ooh.
Because they have to pay for the data storage, and more data storage, the more expensive it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How big is it now?
VP though, so the VP suddenly was getting all of these from people that needed larger mailboxes. And she was like, or our VP, we have different.
Several.
Yeah, this one, but she said, I couldn't figure out why am I getting all these requests about people. I don't care what kind of mailbox people have.
That's funny.
IT.
She was just signing them. She didn't. She's like, I don't care. They did that to her about that. And cell phone usage. Yeah. If we there's 2 ways to get reimbursed for cell phone. Well, there's 3 ways. They either provide the phone for some certain levels, or they give you a reimbursement for services each month, or they reimburse you per call or per whatever if you don't use it very much. Suddenly she got those too, because suddenly everybody that already had coverage for had to have a VP signature for that coverage, and we'd had it for years. So now she gets every year. Now she knows in July she will get forms from every single person that gets reimbursed for any cell phone usage in her area, which is a lot of people.
Yeah, I just had the project I was on messed with people's cell phones and that. And they were trying to track all the attestation forms. I am not an IT person, and the business analyst sends me this huge spreadsheet of all these care coordinators and all these people and asked me what she needed to do with it. And I'm like, you're asking me?
Oh, yeah.
And I was terrified. I said, my God, I'm just a care coordinator. You might want to get with the project manager. That it was, and she needed attestation forms for all those people. And I was not going to send out that email that said, you better get me your forms.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was us. So all of our forms now go to one of our your VP in your market, which I don't even know her title anymore. She's just over outpatient oncology, I think, or just oncology. I don't know what she's over. Anyway.
Yep.
But anyway, I digress. But anyway, so
are you all using, y'all are all like Microsoft Outlook? Is that the email system you use?
Yep.
Yeah. For the hospital.
Yeah.
The school system is all, and most school systems in North Carolina have switched over to Google.
Yeah.
Which is why Google Docs and everything has come natural to me.
Used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the issue, I mean, this is probably going to go off for a little bit, but the issue is the kids know how to use Google and they've learned how to use Google Docs and everything. And it's very much like the basic of Microsoft Office and everything. But when my fear as being an 8th grade teacher and talking to high school teachers a lot, is when they get into the business world, they struggle with, because most businesses are still under Microsoft Outlook or still using PowerPoint and Office and stuff. And that doesn't look like it's going to change anytime soon. So then they don't come prepared knowing how to use those kind of tools and simple basic tools that they should know.
Yeah.
My youngest is a freshman this year in high school, and he's not very happy with me because I made him take the basic intro to computers class.
Mm-hmm.
Said, Mom, I think I know how to use a computer. I'm thinking, well, yeah, you were probably born using a computer, but you don't know how to do a lot of other stuff. So this class is just Word, PowerPoint.
That's good.
Just basic.
Yeah. They've got a class like that at our high school, which is very similar, but it's intro to business. And it covers all that sort of stuff, but then it covers a lot of basic financial things, balancing a checkbook, balancing a bank account. All that kind of stuff is included in that freshman intro to business. And so we had a lot of our, we encouraged a lot of our kids, because we help with scheduling at the end of 8th grade. And it's amazing to me that at 14 years old, you have to know exactly what you want to do with the rest of your life.
Yeah, you got to pick your pathway.
Yes.
That was weird with Maddie.
And so we end up encouraging a lot of our kids to take that just for that reason, for the finance and knowing how to use those tools.
Yeah.
Because wherever you go, more than likely you're going to have to use that. Because we have to, I think the hardest thing for me in education is we're encouraged to use Google because of the unlimited storage and everything like that our county is paying for. But then we have to learn how to transition between the two. So, I mean, I've gotten pretty good at like converting Google Docs into Microsoft Docs and the Google Sheets into PowerPoints and things like that. But yeah, I don't know how, if our kids don't get the training on that, I fear for our future. And when I become a manager or something somewhere and hire some of these kids that don't know how to use it,
I think, or from what I've seen, he struggled a little bit this year with the Word portion. I'm not exactly sure why, because to me, I thought that would be like an easy A for him, Word and PowerPoint. But he really struggles some with some of the assignments in Word. And I don't know if it is because he's learned everything on a Google Doc. The PowerPoint hasn't been as challenging for some reason, but and then it could just be him. But we have this year they had hired someone to teach IT kind of classes. So where ours used to be part of business curriculum, now it's pulled out, and so now we have courses that are just specific to computers.
Yeah.
So, a lot of systems are way ahead of us and have a huge curriculum for IT, but we don't. We're just in the infancy. So, I hope that grows because I think the kids need it.
They do. Yeah, both my girls use Google Docs. When they were in elementary school, they would use Word to do something really simple. They'd take my computer to do it. But as far as now, all their stuff's on Google.
Well, in the last 5 years, and the reason is like some of the systems that Google has set up for education are amazing. Like Google Classroom, I can put everything on to a Google Classroom. It's very similar to like our dashboard with grad school. As far as all of our assignments, I can set it up in modules, units, weeks, whatever, and the kids have one place to go for everything. In my stuff like that is awesome and great on the teacher end. But if businesses aren't, like, we've got to figure out what to do to match for businesses when they graduate and stuff.
Yeah.
And you were talking, Dina, about because I'm trying to pick, like, working at the Health Quest, we don't have a lot of the same systems. We have like, we're on Epic, but I don't have to access or get in Epic at all for clinical stuff because I don't work with any clinical patients or anything. We have, the closest I have to that is our Wellness Center software that just tracks membership. So it like tracks accounts and things like that. And that's called CSI software. I was trying to find what club management software. I don't know exactly what the CSI stands for. Crime scene some days. But we've got that. And then we use Shift Wizard for switching between scheduling and everything. And that's fairly new for us. I didn't know if that's the same system you guys used or.
We're on something called API, and we did this maybe a year or two ago. We had separate systems. So your scheduling system was separate from your clocking in and out system, and that was separate from payroll, and it was all different. So they did this one a year within the last 2 years to API, and I don't know who puts that out, but it's a combination system, so you can do it all in one.
That's awesome.
So I can go in and click. Well, as a manager, I can see all of the people that report to me, their schedules and their clockings. If there were my people are exempt, but if there were clockings, I could see that. If there were issues, I could correct them in that system that goes to payroll. I could see my own time card and approve it. You know, everybody approves their own before payroll. And then scheduling, it tells you can choose it's a drop down box to choose the week or the 2 week. We have 2 weeks, but to choose the one you want and then make requests. If you want to trade, you can go in and ask people to trade. So we do it all in that one screen, in that one system.
Well, that's what the school system has. We have one system for all of that, like all my paid time off, annual leave, everything's tracked through that system. Absences, if I'm going to be out, I put through that system. I can pull up my W-2s, my check stubs, all that. Same kind of thing. But Johnston Health, I was trying to count up the different systems that I end up logging on to. We use like Easy Pay for the pay stub. We track our schedule through a Shift Wizard, and time cards are through a total other system. I don't remember the name of that one right now. And then we've got the closest thing I come to Epic is the LMS training and everything that you do annually comes through that Learning Made Simple through the UNC Access Epic stuff. So there's a ton of different. I try to keep all the same passwords and everything for those. Yeah. But then they have to be changed every 6 months,
and they're not all on the same schedule.
Start them at the same time. Then I end up changing a password every 2 months or every month.
That's where we were probably 5 years ago. We had, I couldn't even tell you how many different systems there were to access clinical information. And I had a spreadsheet, which you're never supposed to store it, but I did.
Yeah.
I had a spreadsheet with all of my passwords because I had all the systems we use in Novant, but then I also had systems that other people used that weren't Novant. And I had been granted access to their systems because we reviewed charts for patients that were in these offices. So I had a list of these systems.
I did that same thing with the spreadsheet, but I've got it titled something that's completely off the wall.
Yeah, they would have a stroke in IT if they saw that spreadsheet. But
mine is in here.
Oh, index. Okay. Well, mine's in my computer because I travel, so it goes with me wherever I go.
Well, that's what's killed me before is I have a laptop. I take it everywhere with me, but I don't take this. And that's what's got me every once in a while when I need to log into something else. I'm like, Heather, that's stupid. You need to put it somewhere else.
Well, I guess you could print it off and then erase the file, but I just keep it and then I update it as we change them. But about 5 years ago, I guess well, I'm sure it started way before, but it actually became real about 5 years ago, where we started to merge all of the systems into one. So it started with Epic so that our clinical management became one system. So if you are a Novant facility, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor's office or, in a pharmacy, or if you're in Novant, you're on Epic.
Right.
Type has a different module. So like the pharmacy module is an add-in to the original product that's specific to pharmacy. And then oncology has its own, pathology has its own, radiology has its own, but they all are integrated into one system and we can see all of them from one screen.
Right.
Good.
And then what we have done with the facilities the offices that are not Novant, there's a lot of offices around our facilities that aren't associated with any large network. Like the GI docs or some surgical centers, things like that. So what we do is through these shared services contracts, we're able to get them purchasing some of the software, get them onto a version of Epic at a reduced price because we can use our purchasing power to get it. So they get it at a cheaper price. They get the software and then it interacts with ours. So we don't own it, but there's a portal that it's set up that they can see ours and we can see theirs.
Right.
So even though it's not technically our Epic, we can still get to everything from our Epic.
Okay. I wish we had, kind of like you're talking, even if because of finances and everything that we couldn't have one single service, if we had to keep multiple services, I just wish there was a way that we could access them all in one place, kind of like you're talking.
And that's what I think when we did Epic a few years ago, that's kind of started that process change. So now, like with HR, PeopleSoft, clocking in and out and going and doing payroll for the people that do the payroll comes in the API system. Everything else is in PeopleSoft. So if you want to look at your benefits, if you want to look at job openings, if you want to get your W-2 forms to print, if you want to make a United Way contribution, if you need to do your performance management stuff at the end of the year or give out peer reviews or something, it's all, if you need to sign up for classes to take, it's all in this thing called PeopleSoft. So it's all in one software. It has, and then if you are a manager or a director or, you have people that report to you, when you open your PeopleSoft, you see your PeopleSoft, and then you'll see your manager PeopleSoft. So you can click on what you need to do in the system. So the same things that I see for me, I can click on the managerial part and see all of my reports and do the same things for them, approve things, request things, do their reviews. So it is very, it's all inclusive, that one system. So, and that's something that's, over the last, probably 5 years, we've kind of moved to that, to where we're trying to get to just one or two things that people access. So, and it is nice.
See, we have something similar as far as the payroll, pay stubs, any type of W-2 information. It's all in one area. And then in that same software is also purchasing order type stuff. So I don't do purchase orders, but everybody that does, they have to go into that same, I don't remember, it's like something Dynamics. See, we don't have Epic. We use something called Alpha MCS, and that has all of our service See, I enter service authorizations for my clients. I enter all their patient documents, electronic health record. What else? And of course, I write my service notes within 24 hours. So that's all in that system, and the providers can also access that system, but they can only see what I have tagged them to be allowed to see. They can't just go in there willy-nilly and see whatever they want, because they see a lot of stuff. And
that's kind of how Epic is for us. You have your access to Epic is dependent upon your job role. So there are multiple levels of access to Epic, and you have to go through a bunch of different classes that are particular, whether they apply or not, that are someone has decided that's associated with that role. So you do that. So my access may be different than, my boss's access or, the doctor's access, because we're doing different things in the system. And, you have people that enter things in the system like you would, or you can have people that have view-only rights who are not going to be entering anything, but they just need to access the records. So there's lots of levels of access in it.
Yeah.
Well, that's like talking about having all in one place. I had to, I ended up, in order to save time, put all the different links, like quick links, on my desktop, but it ends up looking like half of my screen is nothing but links for the work order system, the member management system, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's really nice when they get it condensed, because I can just go to the intranet and there's a list of everything that employee resources, and there's other stuff there if you want to look at, like employee discounts in the area for restaurants, or, there's lots of stuff on that list.
Yeah.
If you click on that one, it's called employee self-service, but it's really PeopleSoft. So if you click on that, you log into everything. So
ours is called SharePoint. And it has all our policies. It has your vacation, or not vacation. It has the holidays for the next year. It's got, that's where I can go in then too and look at claims data for my clients and actually make a pivot table. So that's where I learned to do the pivot table. But the SharePoint's pretty cool. But when somebody tells me to go find the form on SharePoint, I cringe, because if I don't know exactly where it's at, it's like a needle in a haystack. It can be.
Does it give you the option to search for policies?
Well, in the policy section it does. But if I need a form that maybe is used by care coordinators and somebody else, it might be in a shared folder. Oh God. And but that, I was looking at my supervisor's calendar, and there's her tomorrow. She's in Asheville all day, and the thing that they're doing is cleaning up SharePoint.
So that might help.
Yes.
We do, like ours is just kind of organized by topic. So if you click on forms, all forms are there. And they're big. You can choose between like clinical forms or finance forms or something, but there's a list, in that folder of those, and you can kind of pick, because, you've got all kinds of forms.
Way too many forms.
Way too many forms.
Way too many.
I have to do that for my mileage. And so, like, our mileage form is actually a finance form. So for some reason, I don't know why I can't remember that sometimes. I go in there and stare at the list of form folders, trying to remember which one is mileage. But, anyway, but you can't just save it, because it's interactive, and you have to go in and it auto-populates certain things, and you have to print a new one every time. You can't just print it, it has to be done on the computer and signed in a color other than black. So that I do that every month to determine my mileage, but it's the same thing. It's like, looking for the form. So.
See, I was so thrilled when I learned we figured out we could sign our signature and save it on our computer. And now I don't have to go to the office to scan that stuff anymore. I just insert my little signature on my form and change it to a PDF, and I'm happy.
Yeah, we can't do that. That's me originally in a colored ink.
Nah.
It's like a Medicare form.
Yeah.
In a colored ink, and so I intend to keep one per month and just add the whole month up.
Yeah.
That's what I do for all my stuff, all my mileage.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can turn it in every 2 weeks. I ain't got time to fill that mess out. I'll do it at the end of the month.
Yeah.
So
I do it at the end of the month, unless I have a trip. If I have a large trip, then I do those separately. But
and then I've got all my reimbursement stuff. I can kind of do that tomorrow.
Yes, that's what I had that last month, and I have all these little receipts, and it's like, I don't want to do that today, but I really need that money. So,
Well, I know, yeah. I need a corporate credit card, and they won't let. Nobody has one, like an individual. So I've kept track of it. You know how much I've bankrolled personally through my credit card? About $150,000.
Wow.
woo, golly, they need to get you a credit card.
Over about a 5-year time span, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot.
We had one of our people that ordered office supplies. They had one of the business credit cards. Well, he made the news in Asheville way because he wasn't using that credit card for just for office supplies.
Yeah,
So after that happened,
they were gone. Yeah,
they were gone. And
Well,
now if you want supplies, it has to go, there's like levels to get a pin. It's
that
like,
happened at Baptist with the director of volunteer services there. I don't know if you remember her or not. If you ever remember hearing about that, Dina.
No, but we had a similar one a few years ago in
Oh, I remember that.
at Novant.
I
It was in
remember
the
that.
finance department. It was a large
It
cash.
was a big one. The
I
one
was out of town and somebody called me, and myself and then one other person that worked for Novant, we were all at a kids event in New Mexico,
yeah.
and somebody's texting her. She worked in finance about it, and she's come over to me, and I'm like, what? She's like, it's on the news or something, some big thing, so embezzlement or something. So
Yeah, I remember that one. But the one at Baptist was the credit card, though. And it was the director of volunteer services, and she went to a conference somewhere and used the credit card to buy dresses, like prom dresses for her daughter or something like that.
my goodness,
I
people.
don't know what people are thinking.
Exactly.
our finance department looks over our receipts really closely,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't think they're going to miss that.
Oh, yes. I mean, and I have gotten questioned on stuff before, but so I always have really, really detailed. I have to have really, really detailed reports when I turn stuff in.
I write down how much my breakfast, because I may get a Starbucks one place and something somewhere else, and you have an allotment, and I'll tally it out to the side so they're not looking at everything. And
I have to have a list of who all was there, because see, I mean, with recruitment, I mean, they're private practice physicians, and you can run into Stark issues, if they're coming to one of the dinners, and so it's just, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Were there any other systems? I looked over the chapter a lot. I wouldn't want to be an IT person in today's computer world for nothing.
Well, no, because it's like you're either IT or you're not, because if you don't have your computer, if you're not IT, you're rendered helpless.
Yes. I'll never forget one of the days our whole system malfunctioned. Alpha wasn't working. You couldn't get on the intranet, nothing. And they literally called all the supervisors, and our supervisors called us and said, guess what? Go home. Because they couldn't fix it. It was up the next day, but it was like a massive meltdown. And then they moved all the servers to Charlotte, so that helped a little.
We occasionally, I think we've had one time since we've been on Epic that it was down beyond repair for about 2 days. And so you can imagine the amount of paperwork that piled up that had to be manually entered later, because, you have to keep going. It's a hospital. So, and plus when you think 28,000 employees using that system, that's a lot of work to be entered later. So it was bad.
We still have paper. Still have some paper charts that we've held because of the all the laws that apply. And if it's if it's a regular chart, it has to be held for 7 years. You have to have that because you can subpoena it for up to 7 years. If it's
Yep.
a pediatric chart, it has to be held for 20, I think. It's
Mhm.
like 16 or 20. I can't remember what the statute of limitations is. We had a pipe burst on paper
Um,
charts that had not been scanned yet.
Oh my.
Well,
Yeah, I was actually subpoenaed for a client Monday. I didn't have to go, thank God. But they asked for the records, so they sent me. I don't pull the records if they need printed copies. And so the medical records person sent it all to me. My goodness, I don't know where she got all that information at. It was stuff I hadn't seen. It was like from 2004 before we ever even served them. But because
Yeah.
we were the LME and then the whatever, we had access to all that. So she gave it to me all. It's like, you want me to give the judge all that? If it's ordered.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't, so that was good. I got to sit in my sweats all day and be on standby by having a business suit in the closet. They said, well, you don't have to be here, but if we call you, you have to be there in an hour. I said, that's great. Here's my number. So that was nice. I said, I'm not putting that on and sitting around. No.
okay.
All right,
Anything to add about IT?
Mm-hmm. I don't know how in the world they did healthcare before technology. I'll say that.
I don't know, because my start in healthcare was in radiology and it didn't exist before technology. So
There you go.
of some form, it was always technology of some sort. Maybe not computerized, but
Yep. You were using a machine to look inside.
using a machine.
Yep. Well, gosh, I think we're done.
All right.
Stop it in.
Okay.